Okay, let's try with the manual settings for the streaming. Live stream, start your encoder. Ladies and gentlemen, start your encoder. I did. Hey, live. All right, cool. Start recording. So, for anybody who would, oh, it says live. Okay, for anybody who would stumble across this stream archive in the future, I just want to call out that my intention here is not to be able to provide supreme quality tutorial in the live stream. I'm also recording this video, and I'm going to cut it down and edit it into good quality content. So I guess be on the lookout for videos on my channel with the tutorial word in them, and that's going to indicate to you that I've actually spent some time editing it, cutting it down, turning it into good content. Hey, Brandon and Tiny, what's up, guys? So the console that I'm working on today is, let's see if we can get that on camera. It's a manufacture date of 2011-04. I imagine you can't read that. So with that as a manufacture date, it's going to indicate that it's almost certainly going to be a Trinity. So I'm just going to work through modding it. Not going to be doing a full-blown Q&A session like I end up doing sometimes on these streams. I just figured since I was going to record, I might as well stream it. People seem to enjoy it. So, what's up, modder? I think you're still set up as a mod for my stream if you want to beat off the troll. No, that sounds awful. If you want to defend off the trolls, you want to keep them away, whatever. Beat off the trolls. That sounds terribly. All right. So this console, by the way, is an actual customer's send-in console. This is not one of mine that's going to be for sale. This is a send-in service. And I actually did shoot this customer a text message a few minutes ago to let them know so that if they wanted to, they could watch their console being modded in real time. Beat off the troll! Yeah, awesome. Tiny asks, do I do modded controllers? Yeah, I do LED color mods, but that's it. I don't do like full-blown rapid fire and stuff. I don't have any of those mod chips in. So with this, there's a couple of clips that are right here on this backside that are kind of pain in the butt. But once you get them up, you can actually just apply a tiny bit of force, and the whole thing just kind of separates out. All right. Oh, do I do modded controller? What's up, guys? All right, so big screws first. What's up, Blue Snow? I don't remember your real name, but I do remember that I either sold you a console or did your console, so awesome. Thanks for hanging out. Is the audio quality okay? I've had some complaints in my videos recently about audio quality being real bad, and I figured out that's because I had somehow turned up the gain on the microphone, and I think it was going through like post-processing or something and making it peak out, and it was like cracking. Both. I did both. You did both. Oh, that's right. I think you were the guy that had the console that bricked pretty immediately after you got it back, and then you bought one. That's good for now. Okay, cool. X clamp, screws, and the one in the back down here where the hard drive tray is. This is a a function that I don't get on camera a whole lot. The ribbon cable, I think I got a little flashlight right here. Let me see. Where's my flashlight? Hang on, guys. I guess I'll just use my cell phone. So, with that lit up in there you go. You can see the ribbon cable is plugged into the front ring of light board here. And it's actually got like a U shape where it's wrapped around a connector here. Not a U shape, but an entire little square. So what you have to do with a long thin tool is work that off, like up towards the front here, and get it so that it'll go around and then kind of pull out. So I'm not going to be able to hold the light and do, well, maybe I can if I do it with my other hand. So kind of pull it up. See how I did that? Insert the tool down parallel to the part where it's hooked up, and then work it up and over. And then normally I would have my other finger in here and kind of pull that way, and it would just tug right out. So I'll show you the motion without the light. So it's just kind of, so there's my finger on the cable on this side, and then by pulling, now you can see the cable's fully off the PCB here. You don't want to damage those because it'll make your buttons on your front of your console stop working. You just replaced the RGH 1.2 Falcon with a Corona Demon hardwired. The CR3 light chip died, replaced with a Matrix. Worked great. Instant boot every time. Instant boot on a Corona, man, you know, it really just, in my opinion, varies from console to console. Some of them sing, some of them take a little bit. No big deal. Alright, so faceplate right off, top of the console. Can you still play regular games on a flash console? Sure. Yeah, you can play retail games on a console that's been flashed, no problem. You can play retail or copied games. So that comes up. DVD. I think a lot of times I've started my videos with the console at this point, so later I'll probably cut down. The Demon was the Corona, the console was a Falcon. Oh, you wire, no. There was no Corona Demon, right? They only made the adapters. All of the Demons they made for Slims were the Trinity. Or did they make a special Corona only Demon? I know they made adapters for the Trinity Demons, a little QSB, so that you could use those on a Corona. Which I despised installing those things. It just always was more complicated than you wanted. Alright, so step number one with how dirty this console is, I think I'm going to use one of my little cotton pads here. I get these at the dollar store. They come in a roll. Here. Come in a roll like this, cotton rounds. These actually came from King Soopers or Kroger, whatever, but they usually sell these at the dollar store too. And it's just a really basic little cotton pad. And then I just put a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on it. Just because I don't want to mess with any water in a console. The alcohol just evaporates right away. And just clean off the area that I'll be working in. Usually we'll take a few moments and kind of wipe down the fan too. I feel like I'm kind of doing you a little bit of a favor when I do this, because a clean fan operates more efficiently and is quieter and all that stuff. So let's see if I can capture what I'm doing. Makes a pretty big difference, and when you look down into the console too, that it looks clean from the top side once the fan's been cleaned up a little bit. So that's a pretty big difference. Maybe I'll figure out how to cut in a before and an after out of a screen cap or something. Fat Jesus, I need help. Can I fix your RGH? You have a video on your channel. Not gonna be able to look at that right this second. So if you're super serious about it, I would shoot an email to weekendmodder@gmail.com, or go to the website that's in the description up there, or the store.weekendmodder.com, and use the contact us page, and I can get back to you. Alright, so fiberglass scratch pin. Flux paste. Hi, here a little hi from the Netherlands. Cool. Anybody want to buy my RGH? Alright, so is it just me, or is the fact that I'm an RGH seller doing a video on my channel, does that mean I have the right to be a little offended at that? I kind of am a little offended at that, to be all honest. A personal request: don't try to sell stuff in my channel, I guess. If you want to sell it, by all means, sell it. You know, 7 cents is a good forum, whatever. But my channel's my vehicle for selling stuff, right? Like, don't walking into Walmart and telling people to go to Target and buy stuff. I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. Am I wrong? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a jerk. If that's the wrong thing to do, if it's totally cool, if everybody thinks that that's a normal, cool thing to do, then fine, whatever. I'm not going to scream at anybody, but it irritates me. Looks like a brick. I would trust Xbox Modder's opinion pretty good. He seems to be a knowledgeable dude. Alright, my iron is still heating up. Oh, check this out, guys. This is cool. Maybe those of you who do this routinely might like this. This is a timer switch for an electrical outlet. It's got a little button here, and you click it on for 1, 2, 4, or 8 hours, and it just runs for that amount of time. Basically, I was using my hot glue gun. You guys have seen what I do with that, and I was leaving it on all the time by accident because I kind of changed the way my office is laid out. So instead of being able to accidentally leave it on, since the hot glue gun itself, sorry, you probably can't hear me when I'm leaning down here. The hot glue gun itself doesn't have any sort of power off timer or whatever. That thing, I just click it to an hour or two, and then it just automatically shuts off. Works pretty good. Yep, good tip. Xbox Modder will probably need to be reflashed. Also, keep in mind that if it's a 4 gig Corona, you can't reflash it via Zelle anyway. Let's see. 1,000 consoles, and sometimes I still forget what side ground goes on. So when I do this, I'm pre-tinning the spots for every connection I'm going to make to this header. So not only for the NAND, but also for the power, ground, E, and F connections that I'm going to make. Just because it's easier to do it all at once. You can't reflash a 4 gig via Zelle. That sucks. Yeah, it totally does. What tip do I use? I think I have a tip on there that came with my old AOYUE. I bought a cheap hot air reflow / soldering station a few years back, and it came with a whole bunch of tips that were Hacko compatible, and so I just go through those. I'm not super particular about what tip I use. I think if you're decent at soldering that most of the time you can make whatever tip you want work. Alright, so next step, NAND header. Evor. Do I use an RGH myself or just build them? So I've got one that I keep around that's loaded full of emulator stuff upstairs. It's super fun to play old Sega Genesis games or Nintendo 64, NES, all those different emulators that you can get for the RGHs. But I don't actually use my RGH to go on Xbox Live or anything. Also, the lag seems to be a lot better. Yeah, so I figured out what happened. I think what was making everything so bad. You guys, story time, because I'm excited to share this. So what happened was I use a 4K monitor, right? So here I can point it at the screen, right? Giant 4K monitor. That's a 24. This is a 24-inch monitor, and look how tiny it is compared to this thing. This is a 40-inch 4K monitor. So in OBS that I use for streaming, it talks about the base console or the base canvas size, and that's talking about like the base image size that it then downscales from. And mine was set to the 4K resolution, 3180 by 20, I don't know, whatever the fuck it is, super high. So by having it that high, it was then having to downscale that to 1080p to stream it. So I've changed the base layout, and stuff shouldn't really look that much different, but now everything is only running at 1080p, which I think the system can handle better and stream out faster or whatever. Okay, so first world problems. My 4K monitor is so big it makes my streaming slow. Right? Talk about a problem to have. Alright, so what I'm installing here too is just the NAND header wires. I'm going to fire up JRunner here and show you the diagram so that I have it in the stream to cut down. Boss Drift, do you have a Hitachi drive? Oh. Is it easy to RGH your own? Hedlon has issues with Zell. Oh, is that an emulator? I don't know. When I tried to update my dashboard in Zell, it just sits in SATA DVD unit. Oh, so Boss Drift is a person, and I just missed some chat. Sorry. So yeah. I think Xbox Modder is totally on the right course. When it hangs on the DVD drive like that, you can oftentimes just physically open the thing up, unplug the SATA from the DVD drive, and then it'll proceed past there so you can do the normal stuff that you want. And the HL10 is a... I'm not offended, Joker. I'm just saying it's just not cool. I don't think it's cool to try to sell stuff on other people's thing. That's all. That's all I was saying. You're welcome to be here and hang out and do whatever. No problem. Anyway, so let's do desktop, lower left game kit. So here we go. Images, Nandex Slim, Nandex Trinity install. This is what I'm doing right now. So these color-coded wires that I'm soldering are corresponding to these locations in order to be able to read and write to and from the NAND chip. So this is the basic how to talk to your console's onboard NAND flash. Is you solder in a Nandex or JR programmer. By the way, I have like 17 Nandexes on my site right now, so plenty in stock if anybody's interested. So there we are, all finished up. Yeah, let's drop it. It's cool. We moved on about the whole advertising thing. Whatever. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. Alright, so we've got the NAND wires installed. Next step is to actually read the NAND. So I'm gonna slide my console back over. We'll connect power. So not turning it on, but just standby power. And then I've got my Nandex here hooked up via USB. And in the Nandex program, you can see here that I've got the Nandex symbol. When I disconnect the USB, that goes away. So you know that you've at least got a pretty good indication your drivers are all set if you get the Nandex logo on there. It's weird to see the mouse in the capture in there. So plugging Nandex into the header and just setting it down. Going back to JRunner, I'm going to hit the little question mark dealy here. It does a configuration check, so as long as you get a good flash config and stuff here, turn up your reads to 2 and hit read NAND. I get this input name prompt. It is not a required field, so you just hit OK, and it's off to the races, reading the NAND. So a couple of questions while it's reading. If I sent you a controller and a rapid fire, would you mod it? I'm not really into or have the research done or knowledge to do that. I'm really struggling, not struggling, I'm as busy as I can handle just keeping up with my send-in services and orders. So I don't really think I'm ready to venture out into that. What's on the end of my NAND wire? So I actually cut the legs off of some resistors and soldered that to the end of my NAND wire so that I could reuse them. It makes it much more durable. Blue Snow, really? I thought only Canadian CPU. What are we saying? Blue Snow. Hey, do you have any Xenons ready now? Someone found a way to RGH to the quick boots with an Ace V3. No, I purged all my old fats. I used to have a giant stack of like 60 consoles or something that were various forms of Red Ring and Xenon and whatever, and I found a local guy and sold all of them to him. So now I don't have a single fat in stock right now. I pretty much exclusively sit to the slims. Yeah, send-ins are super steady, man. I'm getting like 6, 7 of them a week. I have to do 2 a night just to keep up. You know, death mods you bought from you and showed them what you can do. Bob, you wish you'd go on. Your parents are gonna scam me. So maybe if it helps, the one thing that I can say is if you buy via my website, you use Amazon payments, you get that Amazon 1, 2, 3 guarantee thing where literally if you're unsatisfied, whatever, you can file a dispute with Amazon and they handle it. Like everybody knows Amazon's customer service is pretty on point. So the fact that I'm selling through them and subject to their quality agreements and all that sort of stuff, to me, you know, should be somewhat reassuring. But I get it. I'm just some dude on the internet selling modded consoles. I understand being reserved. Your parents are justified in having reservations. I understand. Ivor, so a NAND X on my site right now shipped runs basically $50. So if you've already got an Ace V3, you could buy a Nandex from me for $50, do the install yourself, assuming you have all the soldering supplies. That would be cheaper than my $75 send-in service. But depending on your confidence and competence level, you might decide that you would rather just send it in to be sure that it's done right. There's an argument for that, but you know. You tried to RGH a Xenon, but can't even get your NAND lead soldered in right. Yeah, it's tough to get it the first few times. You got to be willing to ruin a console to learn somewhere along the way, right? So, all right, we're approaching the second NAND read being done. So when that happens, we're going to install the Ace chip, which I should get a hold of here. You guys hang tight. I'll be right back. All right. Fun times. So let's see, we're about to finish, so we'll let that finish and then we'll open up the Ace and stuff. Alright, so there's the Nandex still connected. So there's everything finished. The all-important NANDs are the same. Also, just a note, if you do get a message here about bad blocks are okay. As long as it says at the end successfully remapped and still says NANDs are the same, then you're fine. Alright, so back to the camera capture. Let's see. Anybody got true has wrecked a few things. I know you're legit. Deathbot from years ago. So blah blah blah. RGHing is not that hard. You just got to watch a tutorial more than once. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that one. You're RGHing your Trinity, but don't know how to get the motherboard fully out of the case. Well, I'm about to show you that in about 2 seconds. So let's do that. So we just finished reading, right? So I can disconnect my Nandex. Just set it off to the side. I'm going to disconnect my power. I didn't write my ECC file, right? The only thing that I did was read the NANDs. So I'm going to start with installing my Ace chip. So first things first, the Ace chips packages have a little tear in them, so you can just open them with your finger on that side. But I can't tear the wire part open for the life of me, so I need scissors just to get in there and get around it. All right. Blop, 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 blop. His name is Xbox Modder. I'm pretty sure, I think he's modded a few. That's funny. All right. So one of the things that you might notice about these wires that come packaged with it is if you notice the length of the exposed solder bit, it's actually quite long. There's way more of that than you actually need. So what I do is trim them to very close to the end of the insulation. So that is more along the lines of what I'm looking for, just a tiny little nubbin. And then I just repeat that process. I only do it on one end of the wires because the chip itself has pretty large solder pads on it. So soldering it to the solder pads is pretty easy with the long wire, but then the side that connects to the console, I use the small trimmed end. Cool. Costco. Stan's Mods, can you suggest a stealth service? How about a mention and a URL and then drop it? So throw it out there, let everybody know, and then we'll move on because that's not really what this video is about. So feel free though. I bought an RGH before and it stays on the Xbox logo. So Brian, do a search on my channel for the term how to escape. I did a video not that long ago of how to escape the Xbox boot loop, and it goes over the different methods for bypassing your bad plugin. So positioning on this chip, that's one thing that we can cover here because this is important. So with the RGH, one of the locations that you're going to solder to is actually one of these tiny little resistors right here. And when I cut this in, I hope to have up close photographs and stuff, but obviously we don't want to cover this tiny little resistor with the chip. So what I do is I use this part to line up the back side of it. And then I generally just try to make sure the corner is touching here, and then that I can see the holes near the south bridge. So we're lined up here, and then we just push down, and we got our little adhesive pad in there, no problems. Problem I would have is installing menus in games. There's lots of tuts out there for that stuff. Well, it's fat and wiring correct. What is Blue Snow talking about? Oh, he's talking about that Xenon. Yeah. Do I know why I'm gonna upgrade your RGH after you generate a hacked image? You can't find the UPD flash.bin. If you've got a source NAND loaded in the source field in JRunner, and then you've got the CPU key, and you click generate hacked image, and it says it generated a UPD flash.bin, click the show working folder, and that should bring you to the folder with all of the files in them. If you've got your JRunner set up similarly to how I have mine. I don't recall if that's custom settings or not to allow it to move, but there you go. Stan's mods, just actually call it out. Mention the service you want to talk about. You get one post, you know, go to town, mention it, and then move on. Let's do that. WASP. WOSP. Teacher. Cool. I like that. Yes, mods is complete garbage. You got banned in 1 hour. Oh. Alright, let's not have a mod about it. So it's been mentioned. How do you program the Ace for Trinity? We're going to get there today in this video, so hang on. Alright, so what I'm going to do to start with here are going to be the power, ground, E, and F points here. So the first one I do is just all the way down the furthest is the power, 5 volt. So we'll just solder right up to there, and then hit our chip and solder right to that pad. Is the video quality okay? Can you guys see this stuff? Alright. Next point is actually the ground. And we'll solder right to there, and then over to ground. When I cut this all together into an official tutorial, I will be sure to have the actual image marked up with the locations. So the way that I think about these are alphabetically, left to right. I know the console's rotated right now so that it's down to up, but technically this is the left side of the console if it's facing you, and this is the right side of the console. So left to right, E, F, right? The way they are alphabetically. So the point is E and then F. So when I do the further one to this side, I'm actually doing F first. So that's point F. And then the last top side point that I'll do here is E. Alright, and then go to E. Okay, so the next point that I do is the C or post point. So the C point goes to the underside of the motherboard. Weekend Modder, how many installs would you say since I've done since I started? I haven't got a precise count, but not that long ago I went through all of the NAND backups that I have. I have a 2 terabyte drive where I keep most of that stuff, and it started looking like it was a little bit full, and I was not sure what was taking it up. So I looked through, and bottom line, end of the day, I have somewhere close to actually I think somewhere over 1,000 consoles of NAND backups. So that's between original JTAG, RGH, RGH1, RGH2, RJTAG, all those, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 consoles. I think in one of my previous live streams I actually pulled it up and showed you. I'm just not a huge fan of doing that because the backups are stored by serial number. Alright, so hopefully you guys saw what I did there, but C into the large hole here, bent around so it's nice and tight, and then we're going to go to the post point here and do the install. Come on, focus camera. If I got hacked, RIP all the KVs. Yeah, I gotta assume, I mean, because this is going back 5 years, there's probably a lot of KVs in there that are perfectly good that I could go through. I've had a couple of people ask me about bulk buying a bunch of the KVs, but I just kind of don't feel right about selling out. Oh yeah, somebody asked about the motherboard coming out thing here. So let me show you how that works. That'd be a good tip for a video to work in. Alright, so there is the console completely set. So the first thing to mention is every screw on the back of this thing has to come out, right? All 4 of these, every other screw, like all of them. And then don't miss the one screw that's usually here into the hard drive caddy. The hard drive caddy has to be out, the DVD drive bezel support thing has to be out, and the fan shroud thing has to be out. Then, the way that I lift these is I'm actually applying some motion like backwards. So the way, if you look, all of these connectors have these little metal things that point to the back of the case, and these are what's grounding the console to the case. Well, they're kind of springy. I mean, they're just pieces of metal, but they're designed to flex inward, and the case is pushing them outward. So there's a little bit of flex or pressure there. So when I am applying a little bit of pressure this way, I'm actually decreasing the pressure of those same springs on the front side so that it'll just slide out. So when I'm doing this, I'm actually pushing this way slightly with my thumb while also lifting up to get it to come out. So I'm also, a lot of times I'll put my finger here and pull on the front of the console, and I'm holding the back side down with the back half of this hand. So it's kind of sounds like a complex motion, but it's not that big a deal. It's pushing backwards, pulling on the front, and then just lifting all at once, and it just kind of comes out. And then from there, once it's tilted, you can just pull the whole thing just right out there. All right, so back to our post point. It's T6, T8, and T10. I think are the sizes that you definitely need for RGH. I don't know. Somebody else can probably point you in the exact right direction, or if you just Google Xbox 360, Torx screw sizes, you'll find them. There's 2 different sizes on the back on the console though. So don't buy just one. You need both sizes because you need the bigger screws out and you need the small ones that go into the back of the X-clamp thing. So what you just saw is I used a little stripper tool here to expose a small bit of wire on the end of our red wire after cutting it to roughly the length that it's going to need in order to connect to its point. So if you can see this, we're going to go from the lower left, we go over one, up one, over one. So this is the point right there that we're going to be soldering to. I'm going to go ahead and pre-tin the end of the wire so that it's got some solder on it. And then I'm going to put a little tiny bit of flux on the point. Then I'm going to pre-tin the point. And this point is exactly the same for V1 Coronas, basically the Coronas that don't require the postfix adapter. This point is exactly the same. Blue Snow, if you want your old NAND backups, all you have to do is email me with the serial number of the console, and if I do have them. And I'll be happy to send them to you. If you don't know the serial number, I'm sorry, you're out of luck, because I don't store them any other way. I have no way to cross-reference your name with an order with a serial number. So, if you can send me the serial number, I will send you the backups. A little bit of hot glue. Keep it down from being tugged on. I do the hot glue back up away from the point so that if you need to unsolder, desolder the point for whatever reason, that can be done without issue. And then I use a Q-tip and do a little cleanup. Just to make it nice and pretty. Alright, so the last point that we have to do here is arguably the most difficult. So I have the other half of the wire, the long red one that we trimmed off of the C-point, and it's got the little trimmed end that we did earlier. So that is going to go to the top side of this left resistor right here. That's where it's going to get connected. And then it needs to come down to the D point. So what I'm doing right now is essentially measuring so that I can get the most short, direct connection possible. I humbly suggest that the length of this wire plays a important part in the boot times and stuff of these Ace V3s. I have seen a few of these done where there's just a couple of extra centimeters in length. So instead of being as short as possible, it's just a little bit too long or longer than it needs to be, and just kind of is loopy or whatever. And those, yeah, actually, if you're selling KVs, I don't care. That's enough. Like, you don't have to mention it again, but you can mention that because I don't sell KVs, right? The idea is I think it's not super cool to try to advertise something that's like a competing product, but I don't sell KVs, so you threw it out there. If people are interested, they can message you, but please don't indicate that you're endorsed or anything. I'm not saying that I support him, but if he wants to mention it, that's fine. I don't care because I don't sell KVs. Alright, so you can see what I'm doing there is kind of bending the wire in preparation for making that connection. This one's actually a little bit longer than it needs to be. I can reach a little further. We'll see how that ends up performing. Actually, you know what? That's enough longer that I'm going to go ahead and trim it a little bit. And the way that I do that is by trimming the back side off the D point. So I don't ever mess with this little pretend point. Because it really works well to stick into the resistor. So I'm just trimming off the exposed bit of wire off the end of that, and then I'm re-stripping another small tiny segment. And then I'm going to put that back down onto the D point here. Okay, APOC, we got it. You got KVs if anybody's interested. Let's just drop it. We're done. Moving on. Why don't I strip it a little more and cut it down to the size you need? That's actually a really good idea. But I guess if I overstripped it, then wouldn't I end up with an exposed length here that would be uninsulated? Anyway. Manny, there is not really a good alternative to this that provides the boot times as well as this does. I'm all about using alternatives when they don't affect boot times or when they're, there's no negative about them. But in my experience, this method with this point does provide the best boot times with this configuration. to a silver box thing in the Xbox. I think I grounded it. Alright, so hold on. There's my soldering iron, 470 Celsius. That's what I got it set on right now. In April, you're going to send me a reach. Okay, fine. Cool. That's awesome. Yes, so Joseph, the other tutorial where I did that, I just used the AV shield as the ground point. That's all that was. You can use the ground point over here if you want, or you can solder to the shield. Either way, it is totally acceptable. Alright, so pre-tinning the end there, and this is precarious. I know I'm not giving you guys a great close-up view. I don't know if it's going to be clear if I do. Here we go. There we go. So it's on the back side of that resistor of the one, not touching the second one, and then you can recognize that that could be a little insecure, which is why I put a little dab of hot glue over this later, but I don't do that until after I've confirmed boot times are good and that sort of stuff. Brown. Hey, Alan? Who's Alan? AV port. Yeah, that's totally what he was talking about. In some of my old installs, I used to run the ground wire up from here to the AV shield for that. Hello, Crazy Foru Zero. Man, how do people... I like names that I can say. Why am I starting to reassemble this console? All right, so next steps, right? We've got the NAND, we read the NAND, now we got the chip installed. Let's program the chip. So you could do this step before you put it in, or now. It really doesn't make any difference. I'm using a Nandex with a Nandex to Cool Runner programming cable, and then I have a little length of pin header. So this is just a little bit of pin header that I insert into the end of my NAND programmer, which gives me the contacts so that I can program to the Ace without having to solder to it. The NAND header wire thing here is labeled. The TMS side. TMS goes into this hole here that is squared. So all the other holes are rounded. The square hole on the end has to line up with the TMS on the cable here. So TMS to the square hole. I'll just insert it in there, and then I just hold a little bit of back pressure on it. I mean, it's very light, just so that you can make sure all the connections are going there. And then what I do is I go into JRunner, I go to Advanced Custom NAND CR Functions, which brings up this little guy. We're writing an XSVF, a timing file, and then we just have to browse to the timing file. So for me, I store those in common 15432's timings. We have Ace RGH2 for Trinity, 300 megahertz, 60.6, and then I use this 0.6 file. I've added some dashes to the file name just to make it easier for me to realize which one is the default that I use. Sometimes we go up one or down one to tune it. Alright, so we have that loaded, and we can just click run, and when we hit that, we get a failed because I probably wasn't holding the pressure right. So I'm going to hit run again. Oh, I'm clicking on the streaming app. There we go. Failed. Alright, I'm going to hold the pressure the other way. Run. There it goes. So, I'll go back to the camera. When I was holding it this way, right, with the little bit of pressure, that's when I was seeing the failed, so it probably wasn't making contact with all the points. So all I did was rotate it this way, and I hold this a little bit of pressure there. And then when I did that, and I clicked on the run, I get a good done message. Because up here I was getting failed, now I got done. So you know that I've successfully programmed. So we can take this, we don't need it anymore. Alright, let's see. You have an RGH that's bricked because you updated it without a PC. Can I send it in so you can fix it? Yes. Go to store.weekendmodder.com and check out my unbrick services. Blue Snow, you broke your Cool Runner programmer. You need a new run. You're going to buy an Ace. Cool. Before you send your console, should you update your dash? Sure. That's totally fine. It doesn't matter what dashboard the console's on. So if you want to update it, update it. Go online, play with it until you ship it. That's totally okay. All right, so now we've got the chip programmed. What we need to do next is actually write the ECC file, which is like the Zell file to the console. So once again, I'm going to slide it back. I'm going to plug in standby power, so power but not actually turning it on. Now we can see the LED light on the chip is lighting up because it's connected. I'm going to plug in the NANDX to the NAND header, and then coming back into JRunner, I'm going to click the CR4 checkbox because we are doing this with the CR4 speedup method. I'm going to click Create ECC, so I get this little ECC created message, and I'm just going to say Write ECC, and I should get a really quick, because it's only the first 50 blocks, image 0 ECC writing, and then we should get a nice little done message, and we can now disconnect our NANDX. I like to disconnect the power and then reconnect it, just like full power cycle. And now I'm actually going to hook up HDMI and Ethernet because I want to pull the IP or the CPU key over the network rather than having to type it. Alright, so I'll reinsert my ring of light so that I can get a status on what's going on. And when I use my remote here and press the power button, we should get a boot attempt, and we'll see how quickly that happens here. Okay, questions. Let's see. If you send a non-modded console for RGH, can I do it live? I'm not making any guarantees of doing it live. If you want to send in a console, I'll be happy to mod it, but some of them I'll do live, some of them I won't. So there we go, boot. That was not a great boot time, but as you can see, it's booting up into Zell here. So there's Zell, and we got our IP address, 1.193. So we're going to add into our JRunner. I've already got part of my IP address entered, so what did I say, 193? There we go, and I just hit enter. It sucked in my CPU key, so I can see all my KV info and whatever now. So now I'm going to power off my console, or the console, it's not mine really. So we'll power that off. I'll disconnect power, just while it's sitting in standby, I like to just have the power disconnected. Going back into JRunner, now we need to actually create. So if you look at your source files right now, it's still nandump1 and nandump2. Those are your original files. But you've got your CPU key now, and you can build an XE build image. So make sure your dash is selected, make sure glitch 2 and CR4 are selected, and create XE build image. So it's going to build out my image, resulting in finally initializing updflash.bin. And if we look at the source file here, it's now on updflash.bin. And we can pop back over to the console, reconnect our standby power. I like to disconnect my Ethernet at this point because we don't need it anymore. And then reconnect the NANDX. And the last thing we need to do is write the updflash.bin. So now it is writing NAND. Oh, now it is writing NAND updflash.bin. A bunch of dust and a dead bug in it. I've had one console that I straight up refused to mod because it had live cockroaches still in it. That was super gross. I posted a video about it. All right, so we're writing the UPD flash.bin now. Typically what I would do is do the LEDs at the same time, but I don't know, I'm feeling lazy, so I'm going to wait till this is done and kind of step through it a little bit more directly. On a FAT, if you wanted, can you go to the first dash with a RGH stand, free boot, keep your fuses the same, but change the dash, not fuse? Free boot dashes don't care about the fuse count. Only retail dashes care about that. So if I wanted to, I could build a custom 7371, whatever, dashboard to it, or I could write a 175, whatever the previous. Basically, when it's XE build and you've got an RGH, you can write whatever dash you want to it, and it'll boot it because it doesn't count the fuse count. Really, that was an issue when people were trying to avoid stick on RGH1 and not have their fuses blown through upgrades and stuff. Today, the fuses stuff really just doesn't matter. Take your stock dash off whatever console you have, and mod it and put on the latest and greatest, because that's what you want to do, because you want to go online or whatever anyway, right? So there we go. We just finished our UPD flash. So we're going to pop back over. I'm going to unplug my NANDX. I'm going to unplug my standby power and replug it real quick. And then I'm going to boot again. Alright, so now when we boot, we should see a stock dashboard. Bob. I don't know. I've considered offering an option of live streaming your mod and whatever, but I mean, time is just a huge factor for me. I work a regular 40-hour-a-week job. I work for a company that's a subcontractor of Boeing, or actually a subsidiary of Boeing. I have a real regular job. I also have 3 kids and 2 dogs and a house, and so it's mostly about the time to actually get to do this sort of stuff. So there you go. We can see that boot was reasonable-ish. We'll kind of see how it goes together and maybe mess with the timing file a little bit. Settings, just to show, we are on 17511. So I'm going to turn it off for now and kind of work on some of the cleanup and finishing stuff. So go ahead and disconnect power, disconnect the HDMI. Now we're going to clean up and remove. Maybe I can get in there a little better. Yeah. Looks like it's focusing okay. So I'm going to remove my NAND wires. Because now that we've got a XE build modded NAND written to it, we don't really need to write anything via hardware anymore. Anything else that happens, we could write via Zell, or we could fire up like simple NAND flasher, or that sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get another cotton pad ready, a little more alcohol. So if that's the case, when did I find the time to learn all this? So I've been doing RGH and stuff since 2011 was when RGH was kind of first a thing. I did some JTAGs before that. So keeping up with it is not nearly as time consuming as learning it in the first place. And at the time that I learned it, I was actually working third shift. So I had tons of free time on the internet to read forums for just ages and ages. So that's mostly how I learned it in the first place, was have a third shift job that is not that busy and internet access. So that's how I like to lay out that side of it, and I put a little bit of hot glue right here near the points, right, but not on them, and then a little bit over here to keep everything looking tidy. And then I'll do the last one with this. Did I say the video name of the cockroach one? No, I don't know. I don't know what the video name is on that one. Like my snowman cup. Alright, so there's that. And then on this point, what I do, I don't know, Blue Snow. I don't know. I know it happened, but I don't know what the name of the video was. I don't think I named it cockroaches or anything. Alright, so what I'm going to attempt to do is keep the solder or the hot glue off of the point, but use this loop to put a little bit on there. So get a little bit under there and on here, just to protect it, because if somebody were to tug on that and rip off that point, it would be a bad day. This console would require some surgery at that point. So that you can see how the hot glue doesn't actually go over the point. It's just kind of near the end, and it would provide a little bit of strength if you were to tug on it. So actually this is probably a good time. Dank Bill, I like your name. I live in Colorado. Dank Bill is fun. I guess that's the only way I know about people talking about dank is dank weed, right? I don't know, that's a thing, isn't it? That's a thing. Anyhow, I recently have revamped what I was doing with, let me show you my lower left desktop, with weekendmodder.com. So not store.weekendmodder, right? But regular old weekendmodder.com. So my store is still at store.weekendmodder.com. But if you look here, I've got a final, quote-unquote, final tutorials that I'm going to try to start doing. The idea is that I want to provide full written and video tutorials for each mod type, do it cheaply and reliably, repetitively, and offer some advice like that. So that was kind of part of one of my New Year's resolutions. So what I've started on was I think I need a modded console. What do I do now? So this one has some basic information about the different type of mods and stuff, and I've already started writing out some of the more in-depth ones. So the only one that's a link right now is disk drive flashing. So it's pretty in-depth. It's definitely a good primer, and I've tried to indicate where it's not finished, where I'm still looking to add more content. But this site, I hope, will become kind of my legacy of modding, being that it will be full of my tutorials and be a comprehensive guide to all of the RGH stuff worth doing in modern times, as well as, and I'm not, gonna be shy about it, I'm gonna use it, or I will also link to appropriate times that I offer some of the sales or services. So there is a link to my store down here. Visit my store. So that will take you straight to the current store.weekendmodder.com. But there it is. So anyway, if you watch this regular weekendmodder.com, this is where I'm hoping to be writing out a ton of stuff and linking videos, and it's one of the reasons that I'm doing the recording today, is so that I have raw material to work from to edit down into better videos and stuff. I worked really heavily on a template that I found online. So technically I designed the site, I guess, but it was somebody else's visual template. I actually turned it into a CMS that I can use to write content into and stuff, but it's somebody else's generic template that I kind of bastardized. It was a free one online. So, alright, so back to this console. This one is modded and glued, so the next thing that I will do is the LEDs. I'm going to plug it in over here while it's off to the side. pull my solder over so that I have access to it. So the little clip on these rotates from the top if you just kind of bend it, and then it just clicks off. And then I use an old tape plastic ring to set the LED thing in, because it's got that connector on the end and it won't sit flat otherwise. So I set it in this, and that allows me to rotate it as I work on it. So first things first, we'll use the kind of float method to remove the LEDs. So this should be pretty easily editable into a kind of how to do the LEDs tutorial. So I hold my iron broadside across the LED, and then I liberally apply solder, and then kind of work it from the front to the back, and it will just float the LED off and leave you with the pads. At this point, you really desperately want a copper mesh cleaning tool, because that's what's going to clean off the tip of your iron after each one. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a giant blobby mess. So I haven't done a video about the store or the weekendmodder.com. Dank memes. Yeah, but doesn't that still kind of mean like it's like good quality but I don't know what dank technically means, I guess, is the problem. Because when I think of dank, I think like good quality but stinky. And that kind of applies to memes too, right? Because sometimes memes are good quality in that they're funny, but they're stinky in that they're you know, sometimes offensive or whatever. What can somebody give me like a dictionary definition for dank? I don't know. There we go. Get this one off. Sorry you guys are looking at the top of my head, but that's why the video is tiny and in the corner, because nobody wants to see. Yeah, that's pretty much you. Tiny, good but stinky. I like that. Dank Bill. I'm good but I'm stinky. That should be your tagline for your YouTube channel if you have one. That should be like your header. Dank Bill. Good but stinky. In a world where Bill is dank and stinky. I don't know. That's whatever. The big one in the center requires a little bit more mass to your solder to retain the heat. So you can see first what I do is bridge the two little sides and put a whole big blob of solder on both the top and the bottom, right? And then I'll just kind of bounce back and forth between them until it's hot enough that the whole thing just kind of comes up and leaves you with 4 pads. We'll replace this with 2 individual LEDs that were like on the side. Dank, disagreeably damp, musty, and typically cold. Okay, cool, I guess. Am I gonna do the ring of light send in? I'm not opposed. I just haven't ever done it. I feel like the price is gonna be not worth it for some people, because at the cheapest shipping rate I can do, about $2.50 for a padded small envelope. Then if I get 12 or I get $10 to do the LED or whatever, I guess I could do it for $12.50 or so. $12.50 plus whatever it costs them to ship it to me, which should be another so it'd be basically $15 all in is what you'd be approximately looking at if I was to do a RGH service. Sorry, I do RGH service. To do a LED service. Bob, I should get my kids an RGH for Christmas. My kids have access to an RGH anytime they want. They like to play old school games with me, but that's mostly because I've kind of only shown them old school games, so I'm devious like that. Alright, so I've got my package of pink LEDs, and I'm going to count out 10 of them. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Fall onto the little paper. I put them on a little card because it's just easier to see them for me even than on this dark desk. I picked up these tweezers off of Amazon for like 2 sets of them for like $5. Super handy. They come down to a really fine point, good for grabbing those LEDs and stuff. On each LED there is actually a polarity. The camera is never going to be able to focus on that tiny thing. But there's markings on the back that tell you which side is positive and which side is negative. I can look at those and see them. My wife thinks I'm crazy because I can do it with just the lighting that I have, which is nothing special. It's just overhead lights. But, you know, that's how I work. Bob, you want to trade a PS4 for an RGH? I'm pretty sure you could get $200 for a PS4 on Craigslist pretty much all day long, especially if you have any accessories. I would suggest that you sell the PS4 and pop over to my website, store.weekendmodder.com, and buy an RGH. Basically what I'm saying is I already have a PS4. I don't really need one in trade, so sell it and buy one. Do 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 do. Bob, your name reminds me of Moto Moto. My kids watched that Madagascar movie not that long ago. Moto Moto. A name so nice you have to say it twice. Your RGH came in 6 days. 6 days from the date you ordered it, counting weekend and holiday and whatever probably. But that sounds long for me for if you're only counting business days. Because I typically do 3-day maximum shipping time, and then I ship priority mail, which is usually a 3-day maximum service. Most places get 2-day. If you're like really in the boonies or whatever, or just on the opposite side of the country from me, it'll sometimes take 3. But if you were counting weekends and stuff in there, like if you ordered one on a Friday and didn't get it until, because it wouldn't ship until Monday, and then 3 days could be till like Wednesday or Thursday. Technically, if you counted all those days, that might be 6 days, but I mean, you can't really count the weekend in there for shipping time. Because even though my name is Weekend Modder, I try to not work on the weekends when I can. Right now, this is one of 3 I did 3 send-ins last night, and I've still got 3 on my shelf, or I've got 2 more on my shelf, so it was this one plus 2 more. Sure, why not? What's wrong with boonies? Yeah, when I shipped it, it took 2 to 3 days. Yeah, priority mail. Alright, last one on the error code. There you go. So now, oh, you can see the camera wire. That's not good. boo, bad production quality, I can see the wires. The weekend makes me think of chilling out, and yeah, pretty chill. Yeah. That was kind of the thought. It was like because part-time modder didn't sound so good, right? Hey, send your console to the part-time modder. So I kind of was trying to infer part-time, but still does stuff, whatever. So here we go. LEDs are done, so I should just be able to boot it up. Pink. We can test it by hitting the sync button. Look at that, all of them first try. Doop 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 doop. I'm not sure that I'm satisfied with the boot times on this one. What's my soldering station? I've shown it here. Hacko, I think it's 88D. I've got another one over here. This thing is a AOYUE. Oh, and the console just booted too. You guys missed it. Game capture, there it is, starting up. That console is a hot air station and a soldering station. I like that one too, and that one just came off of eBay. But what I use day to day, just because it's short and it fits under my monitor there, is the Hacko. I think it's 88D. They run about $90 on Amazon. It's a good station. I like it a lot. The camera always messes up the boot time. It's true too. People have criticized me on my videos. I say, oh man, this is the longest it's taken to boot. But it seems like that's always the case, right? You do a console and it boots like insta-boot 15 times, and then the moment I put a camera on it, it wants to take 25 seconds instead of insta-boot. But I think a lot of people have seen comments from my previous customers and stuff talking about how surprised how good the boot times actually were and stuff. So I feel good overall about the boot times that I provide through my service and stuff. I don't let anything leave my possession that's like ridiculous bad. Yeah, the console has stage fright. That's a good one. Maybe we should give him some weed. We are in Colorado. Just go down to the store down the street and buy it. Alright, so I'm going to start reassembly essentially, do a little bit more testing. I can partially reassemble with still leaving the programming to the chip available, so that if a few more boots don't bear out better boot timing, that we can tweak on it a little bit. But it's a good idea to at least partially reassemble when you RGH and are working on boot times, because the different things being in the console can actually have an impact on its boot times. Hard drives, DVD drives, they all put out a different amount of electromagnetic interference and just generally change the conditions inside the Xbox, so that if you got a great boot time with it totally disassembled bare motherboard, when you put it back in together, it may not be such a great time. Yeah, Xbox modder, recreational weed is legal in Colorado. Anybody 21 or older literally walks into a store, shows their ID, and can walk out with up to an ounce of weed. Totally legal. Absolutely. The DUI laws are still, like, you can't drive around high, but yeah, you could totally go to the store, buy a bong and some weed, and come home, and lots of people are vacationing in Colorado for that, but out-of-staters can only buy a quarter at a time. So there's that. Oh, somebody decided right now is a good time to call the phone number on my website. I don't answer that phone anyway. I always just do text. Alright, so what I'm going to do is actually not install the long screws that would hold the top casing to it, but I will install all the other screws because there should be no reason that I would ever have to remove the motherboard from its case again. Yes, it's in Celsius. I run hot because I work fast. If you were to hold your iron on the board, I would not suggest running quite that hot because you would end up burning things up. But if you work fast and you use lots of flux, it works really well for me. Running hot. I guess I'll add this to the other 3 videos that are already on my Ace V3 product page on the website. Now there will be 4 full run-throughs of Xbox 360 Trinity CR4 speed-up mods. Alright, so top casing will still come off, totally fine. In fact, I can just leave it off. But I like to mostly reassemble like this before doing a few more boot tests. Because in this configuration, you're going to get better idea of what the end result of the boot time will be. Alright, so do we have a time counter? Yeah, there's one on the YouTube page. So that was 10-15 seconds. That was pretty solid boot. That one was good. I'll turn it back off. Oh, what just happened? That's weird. Why is the light blinking again? Oh, this is another one that has the power standby or something on. Alright, let's do it again. Yeah, that's pretty solid. So fully reassembled, which is how obviously you want it to boot well. It's doing a really good job booting up directly into regular dash right now because I haven't installed anything else. But I am satisfied with that. So now we'll fully reassemble. So let me reposition again. So case on top. Get those other long screws. 13 people watching. Cool. We hit a peak of almost like 25 people at one point, which I guess is pretty cool. Not bad for a last generation console mod, right? I've seen a lot of other modders installs, people send in for unbrick services or fixed boot times, that sort of thing. And I don't know why, but it seems like a lot of people or other modders will leave some of the screws out. I kind of figure that, I mean, the engineers at Microsoft probably knew what they were doing when they put all of these screws here. I think some of it's a little bit overkill, but man, why not? Why would you not put it back together the way that it's supposed to be? Like, that seems weird. Alright, so this ribbon, you can see now how it loops, it creates a loop around the connector. So when you put it back on, I'll hold the faceplate out, I'll take the connector, I'll pull it forward so that it's kind of in the open position, and then what you do is you slide, you see what I'm doing, how it's all flat and even. I'll put the end loop on the front of it, push down, and then push in, so that it all goes together. And at the end, this piece should be kind of pinched tight or closed, and it kind of locks down on there on it. And then the actual faceplate itself just slides into the grooves and then just pops right in. Now this was this way when the console came here. The DVD drive isn't offset, but I don't know if he like glued this on the front or what, but that's the same way it was when it came here. You can go back and check the video, I guess. Alright, so this clicks in the front, close. If next-gen exploits come out, I might quit my day job and do nothing but this. Especially if they require, you know, hardware programming, soldering, whatever. If the demand is there, obviously. I guess if there's no demand, but I gotta imagine there would be. The only problem is going to be that I think Microsoft and Sony have learned their lessons and will be able to, any mod that comes out, they're going to be able to lock you out of their online service. So how many people would be willing to have their Xbox One modded if it means that it's only good for offline play at that point? If you can't go online anymore, I think a lot of people are not going to be willing to do that. So that's kind of my general opinion of why I don't think there's going to be a great market for next-gen mods, even if they do get released. Alright, so reconnecting power and stuff. We'll do another boot. And then while we do that, I will pull out a blank disk, put that in the computer. Yeah, that's really nice boot times. And then while that's booting up here, I'm going to click my Show Working Folder button, which just opened this window. And then I'm going to open up my backup ISO. This is what I keep everything on. So this has XEX menu, Freestyle Dash, it's got a set of NAND Pro on it. It's just the generic image. And then I put the entire output folder from JRunner that has the NAND dumps, the CPU key, the UPD flash, everything onto the disk. And then I burn that. And that's what the backup disk is that you get with the console. So you have your original NAND dumps, you have your CPU key, you have your Freestyle Dash, you know, all that sort of stuff. While that's going on, I usually do the software on the console. So I have two USBs that I keep for that purpose. This USB just has the avatar update on it for the current dash, and this one has the other software. So first thing I do is just run the avatar update, but this console doesn't have any storage. The center LED blinking like that usually means the disk drives. I wonder if I forgot to connect the disk drive. Crap, I'm gonna have to open this thing back up to double check. Alright, that sucks. Here we go. There we go. Alright. Good thing I can do this quickly. I know the disk drive was sticking out like that when it came, and I don't think I actually tested that the disk drive worked in any way, but I'd feel bad if I sent it back and I just like forgot to plug in the SATA cable or something, so I can't help myself. I have to double check. I don't think I did, but I don't know, we'll see. Open it the fastest you can. That was a pretty fast picture. What's that a picture of on your mouse? Oh, that's my family. That's my kids. Let's see. My kids. Avonlea, Oakley, and Connor. And then, obviously, me. You went back in the video. It looks like I might have done it. Might have not done it. Well, let's look. We can see together. So, that was pretty stuck in there, but the power seems a little... I think this guy said the disk drive is already flashed, maybe? Let me look at his... No, that's not this customer. Side connections, a 401. Cables look okay. Sorry, you're looking at my hand. What's up, Bob? We were all waiting on you, man. Now we can get started again. Alright, so I'm pressing it in really firm now. And the same story with the SATA. What is it making it longer? Oh, you know what? That's what's making it stick out. Look at the DVD drive here. You see that? This is actually part of the tray exposed. Oh, focus. That's part of the tray. And this is the bezel. This is supposed to be seated back up in there. So, both are. Well, I modded this entire one in this live stream, and we're only at an hour and a half. And it's completely RGH'd, so in the neighborhood of an hour and a half, like that. If I'm not talking constantly and to the video and whatever, I can do one of them. If everything goes real smooth in an hour, I think I've done them as fast as about 40 minutes, but I don't like to rush for the sake of rushing because I don't want to mess something up, right? I mean, especially when it comes to a send-in, I'm dealing with somebody else's console, so I don't want to, ruin their console. It's been a bunch of years since I have, but in the early days, one of the first 4 gig Coronas that I did, I totally botched an install and then replaced the customer's console. The install wasn't so bad, so I was able to send it off to a guy who I know who has like microscope soldering experience sort of thing, and he was able to fix it up for me. So I eventually still was able to get a functional console out of it. It didn't actually cost me a lost console, but I had to replace it for the customer because that took a few weeks to send it off and have it repaired and whatever. Alright, back together again for the second time. You wish you could give me a shake. Black raspberry, that sounds good. One of my other New Year's resolutions was to lose a little bit of weight, so any sort of special food sounds nice because I've been eating vegetables and, I mean, not that I don't always eat vegetables, but I've been eating more than normal sort of thing. Oh. Alright, this one on. So since this guy, it does have a 4 gig module in it, so we can still load some stuff. Pretty sure it did. Alright, so back again. Powered up again. Oh, backup disk finished burning. I just have sleeves that I keep. It just goes right over here. And man, that boot's taking a while, isn't it? Let's see. There's my tape. There it goes. So you see how, I mean, when people call it a glitch hack, there is a certain amount of glitch, kind of a little bit of luck to it. The boot there took, what, 45 seconds, a minute almost, maybe? But a bunch of other times it was less than 10 seconds, so... Oh, you had your tonsils out. That sucks. I had my tonsils out as an adult when I was like 26 or 27 or something, and that was not a fun weekend, man. That did not feel good. All right, so here's my USB that has the Avatar update on it. We'll plug that in, and then if the Avatar update isn't installed, within a few seconds I'll get a pop-up saying there's an update to install. And since we haven't gotten that pop-up, we're going to say that this one does have the Avatar update installed, so we can take this out. And we'll use my little red USB here, which has everything else loaded on it. And sync the controller here. Alright, so first thing I usually do is go over to settings, storage, go to the memory unit on the USB, right? And then copy to the internal memory or to the hard drive. This guy only has internal memory, so that's where we're copying it to. Then I'll have to use the XEX menu actually to launch a copy of Freestyle to do the rest, because XEX menu in and of itself cannot read or write to the onboard 4 gig modules, at least not that I know of. Alright, see you later, Xbox modder. Have a good one, man. So once this finishes here, so we back all the way up, go over to the games. Now we've got XEX menu. It shows 2 because there's still the one on the USB and the copy of it on the internal. So I'm going to hit right bumper. I've got USB 0, but when I write on the D-pad, I only have USB 0 and flash. Flash is not the onboard 4 gigs. So what you actually have to do is I keep a separate copy of Freestyle in this other folder called Tosser. So I'll launch Freestyle, actually launch it off of the USB, off of a different copy, and then use that launch session to copy the other copy of Freestyle from the USB onto the 4 gig module. So if I go up into the file manager, here you can see I've still got access to the USB 0, but Freestyle also has access to the onboard MU, the onboard memory unit. So I'm going to go USB on that side, I'm going to go onboard memory unit on this side, and then I'm going to just highlight dash launch. I'll hold down right bumper, so you see those arrows pop up down here. If I hold down right bumper and I press A, I'm telling it to copy from the left to the right. So now it just created a copy of dash launch on the onboard memory unit. And then I'll do the same thing for Freestyle. I'll hold down the right bumper, so we get those arrows, and then I'll press A. And again, it's telling it copy the Freestyle from the USB to the onboard memory unit. Bob, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking, I guess. Alright, so now that that's done, I'll actually use the file browser here to go into dash launch and launch it. And then the last thing I'll need to do is go to the slim, dash launch calls it slim MU for slim memory unit instead of onboard MU. But there's the Freestyle that we put there, and there's its default.xex. So I just told it to use the default boot to be the internal memory unit Freestyle default.xex. And then I right bumper over to the save or load launch.ini screen. I come down to slim memory unit and I press X, and you can see down in the lower left where it says settings saved to slim memory unit launch.ini. So now when I hit B, it should do the default action, which we just set to mean launch Freestyle. So it's going to fire up Freestyle here. And then the last thing that I usually will do is just one final, we'll power it off, pull out the USB entirely, and then you gotta go. See you later, Blue Snow. So then we'll just do one more power up here. So nothing, no external device connected, whatever. I think that DVD drive is just hosed. It's kind of broken-ish. There we go, pretty nice fast boot there. And then when we go to the game capture here, it should skip the stock dash entirely and do the default action, which is to load up Freestyle. So we should never see the stock dash here. I put a card here that had a poll on it. Do you guys get to see that? How do I see the results? There's this weird YouTube live stream thing that you can add a card that has a result. I've got a button here that says play ad. Can I do that? Based on complex criteria, some of your viewers will see an ad. Keep on streaming. That's cool. I didn't know I could do that. But do you guys see a poll somewhere on this live stream page? Can you, I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so there we are, booted up into Freestyle. We'll go ahead and power off, and that is this console. It's got dash launch, Freestyle dash, XEX menu. This one was for, and I texted him ahead of time, I think it's Caleb C of Florida. Caleb C of Florida. This was your console. So yeah, that was a total end-to-end mod. Hopefully I'll be doing some more of these videos. Like I said, I'm saving the raw footage from this to kind of cut through into a little bit more of a tutorial. But I'm going to turn off the live stream, and I will pack this thing up and put a shipping label on it and stuff, and it is ready to go out. So thanks you all for watching. Yeah, catch you next time.